My name is Marisa. I have a 5-year-old daughter named Kira and a 15-month-old son named Jonas. So with my first daughter, Kira, she's now 5, but we had a very rough start with breastfeeding. I was extremely determined to breastfeed my daughter because I knew how important it was, but it was extremely, extremely painful. She was gaining weight, but I didn't know how much longer I could go on with the pain. Every time she would latch on, I would need my husband to sit right next to me, and I would literally squeeze his hand so tight, his hand would almost fall off because that's how bad it hurt every time she would latch on. And I was a trooper, and I just kind of was toughing it out. And eventually my husband looked at me and he said, "Honey, you can't go on like this. This is not gonna work. We need to do something." We went and saw a lactation consultant, and immediately she said, "Oh, your daughter's tongue-tied," recognized it and referred me to Dr. Agarwal to talk about a tongue-tie procedure that could help ease the pain of breastfeeding. She told us breastfeeding is not supposed to hurt, and this was a concept I could barely wrap my brain around at this point because it was so extremely painful. So we went to visit Dr. A. We had the procedure the next day, and immediately after having the tongue-tie procedure, Dr. Agarwal asked me to actually breastfeed my daughter right there in the office, just to make sure that everything was good and to see if I could notice a difference. And immediately, as soon as she latched on, I was crying tears of relief because it didn't hurt. And I could tell that this was going to go from an excruciating, painful experience to the wonderful bonding experience that I had always imagined breastfeeding would be. After the procedure, breastfeeding, it was a totally different experience than prior to the procedure. And I continued to successfully breastfeed Kira until she was 18 months old, and was one of the best memories of her early childhood that we shared. When I got pregnant with my son Jonas, one of the first things that popped into my mind was, you know, if he's tongue-tied, I can't wait 10 days to have this procedure. And so I had several conversations with my pediatrician to make sure that we would address this. And it turned out that Jonas was also tongue-tied, had the procedure. He's currently 15 months old, and I'm still breastfeeding him. And just thrilled that we had recognized early on and didn't have to go through the torture that we had experienced the first time around. Another interesting point is when I told my grandmother that I had had the tongue-tie procedure with my daughter Kira, she said very matter-of-factly, "Oh yeah, back in my day, 2 of my 3 children were actually born tongue-tied, and the doctors performed the procedure in the hospital, and I wasn't even aware that the procedure was performed until after the fact. It was just standard protocol in my time." So having been through 2 tongue-tie procedures with my children, one of the things that I am very passionate about now is speaking to other mothers who are facing a similar situation. And I've been there. I had seen 2 prior pediatricians who didn't recognize that my children were tongue-tied and weren't even very concerned about the fact that breastfeeding was a challenge. So I know how much of a struggle it can be. I know how painful it can be, and my biggest advice would be don't wait. Get help, see a lactation consultant, speak to other parents who have been through something similar. This is not the type of experience that you can just tough it out and figure it out on your own. There are resources out there, and there are a lot of people that can help you through it and really turn what is a very challenging, painful experience into a wonderful bonding experience with your child. I think that it's extremely important not to try to fix this on your own. There are plenty of resources out there. Speaking to a lactation consultant who is trained and knowledgeable about tongue ties is very important. Reach out to your pediatrician. If you don't find the answers that you're looking for from your pediatrician, continue to look. There are plenty of moms out there who have been through this, who would be willing to help and discuss their experience with you. And reach out. You're not the only person that has been through this experience before, and what it works wonders to speak to someone else who can relate, who has been through this experience, and who can let you know that, you know, their own fears and concerns and what the end result was for them.